Woo! We are here. Oh, there's Janelle. Janelle's here too.
Guess who put the wrong link in the chat?
If Susan ever sends you a link via the internet, do not click it.
Hey, I don't know. Listen, it's hard for me. I'm gonna try again.
So this week, Nicole Ann, I think Susan gave you the wrong link. We're like public on Facebook and YouTube and everything today.
Okay, let me try again.
We see you in here, but
super public.
Okay.
Super public.
How many people I gave that link to?
Hey, Emily, did you send it to some groups or something?
No. Who would do that? That would be so crazy.
There is no watch link this week. It is just our Facebook page and the YouTube page.
Okay, I deleted it out of one group, so now I gotta go.
Even put it in all caps when I sent it to you. This is the guest link.
Yeah, and they are guests watching.
Be our guest. Be our
participants. That's different.
Participants, viewers. I don't know.
I'm using it. I think I was thinking viewer link, and that's different than guest link. So my bad.
Which it's confusing. We need to figure out better language for that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Is what it is. How is everyone? I don't even know if I can ask that question because I think all of us are like
stealing from
living on a prayer, as the prophet Bon Jovi said.
I'm telling you.
Whoa.
This is wise.
I tend not to click it and just blush. And if Susan calls you, I can't guarantee she's actually on the other end.
It's true. Sometimes I'll be on. One time I heard a voice coming from my back pocket, and I was actually like in a parking lot, like grocery shop. I think I did this to you too, actually, Janelle. And it was I had somehow butt dialed Alyssa DeGraff, and it was just like, I guess she was just through the parking lot with me for like several minutes waiting, laughing for me to notice and just seeing how long it would take. She had nothing going on. And it did take a while.
Have you ever gotten an unhinged like voicemail or something like that from someone before, from a butt dial?
Only like one. I think I've sent more than.
Is this the right link? Yes.
I think I gotta go into RFI and correct one.
Gosh. That's why nobody's here.
Probably.
They're all like, we're not doing this. This is crazy. Also, we didn't announce it on Wednesday, which I'll make myself in charge of that.
Announce. Oh, are we supposed to announce it on Wednesday? Is that what we're supposed to do?
No, we used to. We just happened to use to.
Did we?
Send a reminder. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, Brantley. It was before your hiatus. It was so
before my hiatus.
Yeah. So I
which one?
Yeah. Fair. So what do we got?
Those messages and played along with it.
For real. Hey. See people.
Hola.
Okay.
Is this Ricky? Is that who this is?
Follow this.
Might be.
Delete post.
Butt dials are my favorite, and they are rare. My old BFF was famous for them. I had some awesome voicemails sometimes. Recently, I got a. Oh, is my camera just going to be nutty all night? I think it is.
Yeah.
Dude, that's special.
I just thought you were getting messages or something. Like,
I don't think that's what it is. Isn't my do not disturb on? Oh no, it's not. Oh, it's because it doesn't come until 9 because I set it up back when we used to start later. That very well could be. What was I saying? Oh, I got a voicemail, unhinged voicemail from somebody that butt dialed me, and I listened to it, and I could hear what was tires screeching and what sounded like the impact of a vehicle into something. I still have no idea what the story behind that was, but it's still on my phone.
Wow. Hit and run. Like, wow. Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, I got a filter. Yes, that's what it looks like. It looks like I go blur.
The blur filter.
Yeah.
Who all is here? So we got like 3 or 4 people, and I know that there's more than that hanging out with us. Who else is here? Say hi. Let us know how you are. I don't even know. I feel like that's not a fair question right now to ask people how they are.
Yeah.
Or is that just me?
I've been struggling. Today I had a bit of a moment where I felt a little bit more myself, but I think I don't know. There's just been a lot happening, and I think it's felt a little demoralizing.
Yeah.
To just, I'm sure other denominations who have kind of been ahead of the charismatic stuff, because I have to be honest, I just didn't log it the same way. I didn't log SBC. Now I know people from the SBC, not a lot, but some. But I didn't log SBC, and I didn't log the Catholic Church the same way. It was like, oh, that's their problem. And it was like, no, we were just behind. And I think that's been kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Not that I've been running in charismatic circles, but it felt more like my home than my backyard than the other circles. So
we're gonna try to use my other camera because
do it.
That's just being weird. Y'all can't see anything inappropriate in my house, can you?
I mean, we could take a screenshot and
snoop it out. I'm trying to see what's back there. It's that blankets underneath our table there. Spilling out in a puzzle box. I think it'll be all right. Oh man. So yeah, there's been a whole lot. Yes, Bruce says it well. One shit storm after another.
Yeah.
If you guys seen the post that we put up talking about tonight, there's about 20 different things happening that are worth talking about.
Yeah.
Michael Tate, John Foyt.
Yeah.
I guess the thing that we should care about that's relevant for us is the Cocoon thing, but they've just exhausted me and wore me out. And then we have everything happen. Southern Baptist stuff. Corey Asbury poked up his head with some interesting, funny stuff this week.
Can we call it funny?
Well, yeah. I don't know that we call it funny. And then the SBC stuff.
Some questionable.
What did Cocoon do? Like Sean Foyt. Yes, Sean Foyt. That's Sean Foyt.
All right. Well, we can start with Cocoon.
Yeah.
Pull up the post.
Yeah. So Cocoon, they had issued a pastoral recommendation report. And they, it did not go over well, as they did not follow any of the things that they had promised to do. So they had promised to talk to outside experts, and the outside experts were not subject matter experts in the way that they should have been. They had promised that Rachel Denhollander, who is a huge attorney in the sexual abuse space, that she would be thank you. They had promised that she would be overseeing the process, and they did not do that. Completely failed to do that. And then it was pulled, and they issued a sort of apology, but a sort of excuse. They said that the pastoral recommendation team itself had never been notified that their recommendations were going to be made public. First of all, even if they were public, they were ridiculous, not appropriate, did not go far enough. But even so, I have a difficulty believing that the team they chose did not know it was going to be public. I guess there could have been a profound lack of communication, but then at that point, if you are profoundly miscommunicating that badly, where you have a slot for it on the website that they somehow didn't see, and you have been announcing it publicly to everyone else, and they're that disengaged, they probably should not be commenting on it at all. So that said, they released these updates, and we will go through them now.
Let me pull up where I can control it. So, why did they have two different ones? Like, why couldn't it have all been one update? Didn't understand that, but
it's probably written by two different people.
Yeah, that could very well be true.
So they're telling us it's been 2 months since we heard from them. So like Cliff Notes catch up is they like released that PRT report and what it was up for like 2 days, something like that. And it was a hot mess. And then they yanked it. Is that what happened? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there was a huge outcry and I don't know how long it was. Or how, I don't know how long it was in between the release and when they pulled it. But it was fairly quick. It was fairly quick. And they had been throughout this process in contact with just a significant number of people. Like the AG had been really saying, hey, please take this seriously. And they pushed back very hard on it. And I had been in contact with some of them. Like I know other advocates had been in direct contact with like Ron Cantor, and they kept giving these assurances, but then Dan Juster would get on and he was not supposed to be over it. And then he did lead the process. They had promised that he would be removed from leading the process after his comments, and he was not removed. So they broke a number of promises, and they did not apologize for those like breaches of trust in any way.
Yep.
So this right here, this is misleading. Rachel Den Hollander has joined the PRT. Well, yeah,
she was already
supposed to be overseeing it. Yeah, she wasn't part of the team officially. So now she will be it's a bit confusing. Oh, hey.
Bada bing, bada boom. What's up, dude? You're muted.
What's up?
So this right here, and I did speak to Rachel at this point, both before and after the release of the PRT. And she reached out to Alyssa DeGraff and I. And so we had a conversation with her, and she did take them to task, to her credit, although I wish she had pushed back harder earlier, to be completely honest. The miscommunication regarding the document's purpose and audience, I do not
exception
agree with that.
To.
Yeah, I do not agree with that representation. I have high difficulty believing that. Upon coming to a more complete understanding of the broader nature of the report, they requested Rachel join the PRT. The PRT requested Rachel join the PRT.
Which Tikkun fully supports.
Yeah.
Are they trying to make like a delineation between Tikkun and the PRT? And
they're throwing the PRT under the bus.
To do with Tikkun.
Yeah, when in reality, Dan Juster was overseeing the PRT. So I'm sorry, broadening the pool of experts. Oh, a step that it was recommended they take from the beginning.
From day one.
The number of times that these people, David Pooler was suggested to them, Diane Langberg was suggested to them. I don't know about Tim LaCroix.
I have no idea who Tim LaCroix is.
Yeah, I didn't Google him.
I'm kind of scared too.
They will provide counsel and expertise. So I did reach out and I said, hi, and I will reach out to Ron Cantor. I didn't think to reach out to him directly, but I will reach out and ask. And I would encourage you to as well. But I asked if the PRT would be was agreeing to actually take the counsel that is provided, because Langberg and Pooler, Nicole suggested Langberg and Pooler, and Nicole has been in contact with upper level members of Tikkun. So, which I say wrong every time. But yeah, so I struggle with this because they will provide counsel and expertise related to the content and language. Okay, is the PRT saying that they will agree to that content and language? And the reason, you can infer that all you want, but they use that language quite frequently. Yeah, and then it's like, ultimately, pastorally, we decided that we didn't have to listen to what they said because we retain, church governance. And they get into something close to that later. So stay tuned.
So the Tim LaCroix guy, I pulled up his bio. He's a pastor in Ithaca, New York. up in the Finger Lakes area, which always gives me the heebie-jeebies because that's Elam country, which has like IHOP connections and such. But it says he was the chair of, I don't know, I guess he's Presbyterian, so I don't know if this maybe has to do with their polity, but he was the chair of the General Assembly's former ad interim committee on domestic abuse and sexual assault. And I have appeared on a podcast with Rachel Den Hollander discussing our work together on that committee. So I guess he's worked with Rachel before. So
okay,
hopefully,
you know, I
a
mean,
good character.
That's something.
Yeah.
You know,
they're saying within a month they're going to provide another draft. Lastly, we'd like to request real prayer.
As opposed to that fake prayer.
Keep your thoughts. We just want real prayer.
Real prayer.
Wow. Oh gosh, I can't laugh at prayers for protection with all that's going on though. So we'll move on. Thank you. We need you in Yeshua's love. So this is Asher, Juster, Melva Felt, Ron Cantor, Richard Cleary. Okay. And there's that pastoral recommendation team update. So that update was from Tikkun. So this is from the PRT, I guess, all on the same post.
I want you guys to imagine that I shared a screenshot of a can of LaCroix and called that the new PRT because I couldn't do it in time. All right, thank you.
So we want to provide an update to you all on where the process stands with the past PRT. As many may be aware, the original PRT report was removed from public spaces following concerns expressed about the content of the report. Following this removal, we had the opportunity, this is image management. Following this removal, we had the opportunity to meet with Rachel Den Hollander.
Following it, huh? You also had the opportunity beginning. You were supposed to.
And gain a better understanding of the commission we had been given.
We're not saying we had the opportunity beforehand as well and turned it down.
Here's the part. What we believed was intended only to be an internal memorandum to the current IHOP board was in fact a much more serious and broad commission.
There was a link for 3 months for a slot for the PRT. They announced it on every form of social media that it was going to be happening and would be released publicly. They are full of shit. Please clip that and send it to
Ron,
Ariel, and all of them. No, Ron won't care.
I love that they like put in their beliefs in here as if like
they just
why do they have to grandstand about that?
They needed filler.
No, do you know why they needed that there? They need that there because they are so arrogant that they talked all up and down until they were blue in the face about church governance and their authority and their right and the rightness of them doing this. This is all about their due process thing. And so they're like, you know, we still believe in the inerrancy of scripture, but here's a random ass justification for why we're doing this. Now, I will say this.
They are using it to talk about a multitude of counselors, which I mean,
I will acknowledge that. And I will acknowledge that it is important for people who have lived under this, who are here, who are in the community still, and that's where they're hearing, getting their theology from, and they're hearing this come from people they trust, like, you know, ideas about church governance and whatever. It is really important to give a theological framework that helps people to move towards truth. I do think that can be helpful for people to untangle a little bit. That was part of how I untangled originally. So I do get it. But also there's a little bit.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I just really struggle. I guess I'm just tired of people utilizing scripture to, you know, kind of, I mean,
this is where I go off on Christian supremacy, that the idea that the goodness, all of the goodness comes from us as Christians, that we are the goodest.
Mm-hmm.
We have the moral, but
moral high ground and like,
but not only that, like the idea of like, apart from you, I have no good thing. And we talk about that with God, but Christians, and I say this as someone who was one,
as somebody who called themselves we Christians today.
Stop. That was yesterday, and it was an accident.
Bear witness.
Getting called out. But there is an attitude, and I had it that to be a loving person, to be a wise person, a truly wise person, that I was inherently more loving and more wise and more kind and more grounded than people who were outside of the faith or working outside of my faith framework. I genuinely believe that, and I trusted them more because of it. And so, yeah, it is exhausting. Because it is a form of supremacy, and supremacy is always a form of oppression. And the victims are the ones who suffer because we aren't getting the real experts.
We can hammer that nail more later.
Yeah, I've distracted us. This was my...
I just want to know when these guys are going to come to the realization that, like, for the vast majority of us, we're no longer under their spell. So, like, when they mess up, they feel like they can just lie about it and throw some scriptures out there. And then we'll all be like, oh, yeah, well, I guess they quoted Proverbs there, so we should just forget about them completely gaslighting us for the last 6 months. Like, when are they going to realize they're going to have to start being honest and owning their crap rather than just defaulting to this, weird, charismatic Christian voodoo that they've been using to keep everybody, like, under their control, if that makes sense.
I think they bank on tiring us out, because look, none of us left comments this time because we were just like, whatever, dude.
Oh, we did. We both did.
Well, we did on here, but I mean, I was on Instagram leaving. Oh, wait, did they delete our comments?
Did they? Hold on.
They're not showing.
Wait. No, it's because our comments were on the post, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Only people had recommended this from the onset. It took you a while to get here. Don't expect applause, but glad you're here. And then yeah. Yeah, look at that. It's
no response.
Just us people. Just our people.
You people. These people. Where's Andy Hailstone?
Oh my gosh.
Those people.
Where are we at?
Well, so to be honest, is anyone listening anymore? I mean, I feel like we're so exhausted of this back and forth, At least that's how I feel. Like, I'm so exhausted of this back and forth and just the ball dropping over and over. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, like, how long are we going to drag this out and bullshit it?
That was my text to you yesterday, Susan. Whenever I was unhinged, but we were talking about propaganda and different people's roles that they play within these communities and stuff. And I was like, and we're over here saying, look at what's wrong. Trouble's coming. Here it is. And then nobody ever listens. And we just get to watch the destruction over and over and over again. And
it's demoralizing.
Get to deal with the disillusionment of it all.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that Onion article where it's like they put up a monument to the people that are going to die in the coming disaster? They totally could have avoided it, but no one's going to listen. So they're just going and putting up the monument. Like, that's what this feels like.
It totally does.
It feels like.
It totally does.
Yeah. The fact that I can just pick random items off the bingo cards I've made to make a new one for every single minister, and they all do the same thing every time. Like, I'll sometimes put like specific ones to be funny, but like for the most part, I just pick them at random from previous. Like, I don't think that hard about it. I'm like, all right, I'll take that one and that one and that one, and you know what? This one feels funny, and I'll put Russell Brand on there because it's Sean Foyt. And like, has he almost filled out his bingo card? Yeah, I didn't fill it out yet.
It took him what, like one video?
He's got it almost the whole thing just in that one video. Like, I mean, he's going to be blackout if I look at it.
I mean,
oh man. Okay, we got some comments. Let's see. We got some comments that we had caught up on. Trying to see if there's anything. Whatever happened to prison? Yeah, these guys. I don't even know how. I don't even know.
I mean, because this is gonna offend people. I'm gonna say this offensively. I'm sorry.
Because this is how our society works.
Because men are in power. The men who are abusing are the ones making the laws. What do you think the SBC does with their money? They lobby against sexual abuse laws. So does the Catholic Church. Do you know how much money the Catholic Church and the SBC has used to lobby and to elect politicians who will support shit policies that will keep them from ever being prosecuted for the ways that they have enabled, systemically, institutionally, and directly enabled or actually just abused. That's why it's still the way it is, because sick men are the ones making these laws and arguing this shit. That's it. That's the reason. That's why it is the way it is. That's why no one's in jail.
Statute of limitations too, Nicole.
If you want to go really far down that rabbit hole, they also are the ones that throw their money behind politicians that do the exact same thing to get them into power, because they'll never indict themselves.
100%. Yes.
I mean, think about Sean Foyt in the position that he's in right now, and knowing that all that Trump has gotten away with, and like knowing that like you're in those circles of people that pertain. Just that is white male confidence. If you don't know what white male confidence is, that's what that is.
White male confidence is, I can be the biggest jackass in the room and still be on stage praying the prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Real prayers.
I can verbally abuse a woman on the internet and then turn around and speak on a fucking podcast or rail against feminism. Having a bit of a Susan subtweeting on open space. Getting herself in trouble. Susan's gonna delete this afterwards. It's just gonna be blank space.
So jumping back into Tikkun. So we therefore requested that Tikkun allow Rachel Den Hollander to be appointed as an official member of the PRT.
So
as well.
Speaking of patriarchal decisions.
Wild.
How long did it take to get a woman on there?
I can't. I'm gonna cry.
As well as retain additional subject matter experts, whom she recommended to us. We've spent the past few weeks ensuring that these steps are taken. They're deeply grateful for them. The thing that is interesting to me, which I think somebody else had pointed out to us, one of our friends, was that they had joined the team as advisors in addition to Rachel joining as a member. Their expertise and knowledge will be critical as we consider the appropriate response to the Firefly report, which substantiated longstanding patterns of abuse and sexual misconduct.
So I want to point out a tactical move. So
that's what we're coming up on, aren't we?
Are we?
Have we? About the agency part? Is that the next part?
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing. Is the reason Rachel is joining as a member of the PRT is my guess is that it will no longer be overseen by Ron or Dan, and it is to establish full independence because nobody trusted it. And so Rachel is putting her credibility on the line and her independence on the line. Amy, the difference between advisors and members are going to actually make the decisions and write it. So that's where Rachel Den Hollander, her actually joining it, that is a credibility move. And so actually having her as part of it as a lawyer to actually, she is a sexual abuse lawyer. She worked with the SBC. She worked with Presbyterian Church. And
she's a survivor herself, right?
She is a survivor herself. With Larry Nassar, she was a gymnast.
I didn't know that.
You didn't connect that yet?
Wow.
She is the one who testified against him and kind of led the charge, I believe. Yeah. So it's her passion, and it is very personal for her. And she takes a different stance than Boz, where it seems very much like her passion is to establish and you can feel any kind of way about this, but it seems, from what I know of her and what I've experienced of her, it seems that she believes in kind of working with institutions and bringing pastors and leaders along into setting up ways of dealing with things in I'm struggling to find the words, but like structural ways of dealing with this kind of thing, where there's actual systems in place within the church to enact discipline and accountability. Is that possible? I don't know. I'm you know, like, because you have to bring them so far along, and I don't know.
I mean, repetition's your friend. You know, we all know it's not going to be one and done with these folks.
It's a different take than like someone like Boz, who is basically just standing up to them on the outside.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So the 3 professionals, they're providing wisdom, counsel, and feedback on the report. They, along with Rachel, have the full ability to remove themselves from the work of the PRT and notify the public that they have done so if they reach a point where they believe they can no longer support the work of the PRT.
And that is
that's more of an indictment on Cocoon than it is anything.
Well, and that was a very specific thing that was brought up to Rachel as feedback if there was going to be a second take. So credit where credit's due on that, because there were a number of conversations with Rachel about this kind of thing and how those names could be used for credibility and whether their existence would maybe okay things that were not okay if they did not publicly distance themselves from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I will give some credit there.
And then there's another interesting statement in here. So like, we desire to learn from these individuals and understand that far too often names or relationships are leveraged to quiet concerns rather than genuinely seeking to grow.
That was the sentiment with Rachel. So yes.
Yeah, that's like that's weird. It's just, I feel
I think that is an acknowledgement.
That is you think it's an acknowledgement?
I may be interpreting.
I feel like they're turning their words back on people, but
no. So again, I have had multiple conversations with Rachel. I don't know that everyone who was part of those conversations would feel the way I felt. So I'm speaking only for me, but she had reached out, and that was one of the things that was brought up to her. I don't remember who brought it up, but multiple of us said, hey, there is a sentiment in the wider community that we're hearing, which is that your name was brought up and we thought, oh, we're safe now. We can trust this. And that feels like a betrayal. And your name lent them credibility. And so we trusted that this would not be damaging, but it was damaging. And we, like everyone in the entire post-IHOP community who was involved in any kind of online conversation was saying over and over and over again, hey, don't mess this up. Hey, what are you going to do about this? Hey, what are you going to do about that? Hey, why don't we have answers? Hey, I don't know about these experts. But we didn't push as hard because Rachel's name was on it. And we assumed she would advocate. Yeah, here we go. Jen is totally right. She was the only one I trusted. Yeah. And it was like, well, if Rachel is there. And then they published it without notifying her or her even seeing it. They went around her.
Which is wild.
And they claimed they didn't know she existed, which again, she kept reaching out to.
How do we all know about her and they do not? Like, that just tells you how like disconnected these folks are from what's actually happening.
I can almost believe they were disconnected and never told about it if they were told to stay off social media by Dan Juster and they didn't happen to be on Twitter.
Because they're a quarantine jury? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
The thing I wanted to ask, somebody brought up in Open Spaces group, I don't want to out them because I don't know if they want this shared publicly, but they somebody had mentioned that this Mark Pfeiffer guy was involved with Dr. Brown's stuff. Do you guys know?
Really? You know what? That name does come to mind. But he may have been on the
Does
good
anybody in the chat know?
Some of these are Kim Bastine, Monica Maurer, and Wanda Morgan are all therapists.
Okay.
And those were the original experts that they contacted. There was another one that I was like, you need to remove this person. Someone told me she had not actually finished her like she had
hours or something.
Yeah. And I was like, she's not fully licensed. Like, what are you doing?
Yikes.
So Mike Pfeiffer. Let's go. I can look that up. Is it Mike?
Mark. It is Pfeiffer. Yeah, that's a lot. So I'm going to, now that we've like got that part out of the way, I want to open up conversation for anybody that wants to hop in and talk about anything. We'll run through our kind of little guidelines of engagement, I guess, real quick. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. We're glad you're here. As you can see, we're a little unhinged. We're a little all over the place. And we're all a little different, but the same. Susan is agnostic in the same way that pastors are Christian.
Right off right now.
Just kidding. But yeah, we're all in very different spaces. Everybody that's here right now on screen, we're all in
Speaking
different
of pastors, while we're outing people, Justin used to be one, so pick it all.
I did.
All right, no, okay, so he is part of the elder accountability team that cleared Dr. Brown. So I think it feels like a really good time to pitch a fit.
Yeah, that seems like worthy of pitching a fit over.
This comment right there, yes, one of them was a therapist who she was not still practicing. She's a psychologist, and a lot of her work focused on mandalas, like coloring book, like therapeutic art therapy. And I was like, I don't know that that's a subject matter expert.
I'm surprised I didn't think that was demonic. I'm surprised they let her on the team.
True.
If any of us think that,
if we had taken that route, it would have been very different.
If anyone is under the impression that Dr. Michael Brown is not Takun's dad, they are fooling themselves.
And we know how well, never mind. Just almost heard a bad joke.
The mental image of him just softly hitting Dan Juster on the booty as he walks out the door.
100%. Jan Juster sitting on Michael Brown's lap, and that's actually just like
little kiss on the lips.
Holy kiss. Okay, here's our guidelines. The guidelines are: be kind, treating everyone with dignity and respect, that we listen to each other with empathy, looking to understand each other's perspectives rather than our next one, which is not debating. It's not really a place for us to flesh out our arguments on atonement theories and eschatology and this and that, but you will hear people talk about their experiences with these different theologies and things, and maybe how it was damaging to them, and speaking from those places. And we encourage you to share from your experiences. And so as you talk, some of us are more educated in some of these areas than others. Hardly any of us are subject matter experts. Janelle, for instance, has worked as a child advocate. Justin, you have an MDiv or something from Asbury. And I don't even have anything past the IHOP diploma.
I write
Susan doesn't even have that.
Toys. Yeah. So I write books about toy dinosaurs. So you will be in good company here, and you get to be yourself, exactly as you are. That means if you are a Christian, you get to be a Christian. If you are not, you get to not. And you can speak from where you are at. You do not need to defend yourself. We're not going to. But what you will usually see happen, though, is that our goal is to bridge between experiences. So we might present a different side of things like Janelle had a different thought on part of, the Tikkun announcement. That's fine. She's speaking from where she's at.
Better be.
It is. It's fine because she's actually going to come and find me. She probably knows where I live.
And I just realized that Justin has 4 guns on the wall.
So
Justin has 4 guns on the wall, and I'm a pacifist.
I only have 4 guns on the wall.
And Janelle's an anarchist.
17 guns directly in front of me.
Really?
This was the angle with the least guns in this room.
The angle with the least guns?
No. He's like, actually, I've made progress, you guys.
I'm not. It's
There's
a long
actually,
story. I'm staying at my parents' house for like another month before the house I'm buying opens up, and this is just like the hunting room. And my dad is a gun hoarder, and so there's just literally guns. I'm pretty sure the structural integrity of this room is guns.
This is great. This is great. I was writing "Welcome, Brother Todd, the NRA pastor." Welcome to Open Spaces. We're going to be giving away a free. No, I'm not going to say that. Our stream's going to get demonetized.
If I rotate slightly to the left, it's the Trump Bible.
We're actually getting flagged right now. They're like, "There's guns," and Susan said, "Anarchy."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to drop the link in the chat for anybody that would like to hop on with us. You are able to hop on with video on, video off. Obviously, you would need audio to communicate, so you need a microphone. You don't have to turn on your camera if you want to talk. We're publicly on the internet today, so anybody can see you. Did you say you don't have to have guns? Is that what you said?
I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear.
I think I've got enough for everybody.
Yeah. There's one for each.
Pseudonyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, for every person that joins us, I'll just grab another one and put it behind me.
So, tell us, like, of what else is going on this week? What are you guys wanting to talk about? What do you want to hit? Because
don't be shy, y'all.
Please don't. Oh my God. Otherwise, we're just going to keep rambling. I'll monologue if you guys don't watch out.
Yeah, and I can.
Nobody wants it.
I can talk over Susan if I need to. With my
they have a mute button that's just for me.
The Tate stuff.
The Tate. Okay, so
can I talk about it a little bit?
Please
go. Is that okay? I mean, I don't want to talk a whole lot about it, but I just want to say for me that this was a really hard one for me because it was very similar to experiences I had as a young teen in a youth group with a male leader. And so this one was very close to home, and it made it a very hard week for me processing this. This is one of outside of Justin, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that's come forward as far as like male victims and these things that have been public and forward.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of anybody else? I don't know, but yeah. So I just want to say that. I just
rumor about a lot of them, but nobody's come forward and it hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
I think it's hard. I think it seems to take a lot longer for men within denominations to come forward. Like it kind of seems to roll out denominationally, and there's so many things behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so I don't know who's read the Guardian article. So the initially there was
I'll drop it in the chat too.
Yeah. Initially there was a post on TikTok kind of alluding to the fact that he was predatory, and that got flagged by TikTok. It wasn't willfully taken down. It actually, TikTok took it down as outing someone for their sexuality. And that was not, I think, the intention. So then after that point, Julie Roy's released the initial exposure. I think 3 victims came forward. And last night, well, in between that, there was a confession. Michael Tate's confession, which was, in my opinion, lackluster. A lot of people thought he owned a lot. I did not agree with that. I thought it was very carefully worded, and a lawyer was clearly involved.
You want me to pull it up? I don't know
Sure.
if it's one. I've not looked at it, but
so he posted this, and I'll say this on the front end. He posted this knowing that there was a forthcoming article by The Guardian that involved, I don't know that he knew how many victims it involved, but it involved 7 victims. And he posted this after he knew that he was asked for comment before he posted this. So I don't know. Do we want to read it?
I don't want to.
I've personally spoken to soteriological and hamartiological expert Brent Sino, and he said, as it comes to sin and forgiveness, this is about as far as it goes. So I don't think there's anything to even talk about here.
He also consulted me this week.
So the Guardian article. Yeah, we should absolutely add the Truth and Freedom Advocacy website. Yeah, that's the Sean Foyt thing. Yeah, we will absolutely. We should do that. So from this point, the 2 points that I would pull out here is that he says, so he, says he misled, he lied, whatever. He says he admits to sexual activity, drug use. So he says drug and alcohol abuse, and this is very carefully set up. So he says drug and alcohol abuse, and right next to that he puts sexual activity. And the goal there was to get you to associate sexual activity with abuse, so you think he is maybe admitting to it if you know it, and if you don't know it, he's not alerting you to it. So then you go down a little further, and he says, at times, touched men in an unwanted sensual way. So,
sensual.
He says sensual, not sexual. So
or inappropriate.
So at no point does he admit to any form of sexual assault, sexual harassment. So again, if you know what had been reported in the Julie Rose report, you would either link that and think, wow, he's confessing to sexual assault, or you would link that and say, oh, he's confessing to the massages.
I'm here for the newsboy puns all day.
Michael Tate is a toast.
He was trying to be in the light. You are in the light, trying to shine like the stars in the heaven.
As soon as I was made aware of the pending cancellation of myself, I decided I needed to do something to maybe not have that happen.
So he did this knowing that the Guardian article was coming out. In the Guardian article, there are 7 victims between the ages of 29 and 13. Of those 7 victims, I believe 2 were underage. One was 19, 2 were 22, and 1 was 29. So there was a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old, 2 22-year-olds, a 29-year-old. So I'm missing someone because that's only 5. But of those 7 victims, 3 had disclosed to him that they had been previously sexually abused, and he knowingly then groomed them. So that is the level that we're talking about.
Level of
hardcore predatory behavior. And he published this statement knowing that was coming out, but did not give comment to the Guardian.
Did the Guardian article say anything about criminal charges or anything?
No, it did not. Not that I remember. And, I think that's probably pretty tricky because 7 different victims. It would depend what state they were in. Did he cross state lines? I hope so. I hope, if that sounds awful, but I hope that enough state lines were crossed with some of these people that he could be indicted on trafficking charges.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because, but I want to point out too, the other thing I want to point out, he ends with King David. He ends with Psalm 51.
Of course he does.
Yeah. And I think the worst part, he leaves the verse out, but the full verse is, against you and you only have I sinned. It is the fucking worst psalm of repentance that exists. I hate it. I hate Psalm 51. Psalm 51 could fuck itself.
Because sin is only against God.
Well, and I think that's...
Okay, Augustine.
I think that's one of the major things that enables abuse within the church and minimizes the impact on victims and curtails our empathy. And empathy is actually what motivates us to act on behalf of the vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that they can stop you from having empathy, that's why all the books are coming out right now. Oh, toxic empathy, the sin of empathy.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the spirit of accusation.
Empathy. Yeah, well, I got not even worth mentioning. Will I buy it and leave a terrible review for him? Absolutely.
Didn't Foyt working on a book too? And that wasn't that part of his thing that he said?
Oh my God,
that it's
probably.
ironic that he's working on a book about accusation or something. I'm like, all you guys got
Nicole bringing scripture right now. She's like, it's sandwiched between these two, and they're all like 100%.
My cult friends are my favorite friends because most of them don't lead with the Bible anymore. But then whenever they get into stuff online with people and people try to start digging stuff out, all of a sudden it's wham, 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 wham.
You don't mess with you don't try to out Bible an ex-cult member. An ex-cult member will whip out their Bible, hit you in the face with it several times, and then like just, pop a gummy.
Yeah.
My embarrassing Bible moment of the week, though, was I was having a conversation as if Daniel was one of the men in the fire in the book of Daniel. And I was like, yep, that's a mistake. I couldn't believe I made that mistake.
You're like, listen,
somebody said that Daniel doesn't protest. And I was like, he's not in the fire.
Somebody may unaccredit your Bible school diploma.
Right.
Oh, no, not that.
Oh my gosh.
That's Sunday school stuff, Brantley.
Yeah.
How did you mess that
up?
up?
What are all these screenshots that you got pulled up here, Susan? I didn't even look at them.
All right, so this is on the SBC stuff. And Erica, you want to give us a rundown?
I'm dropping the link again because nobody's biting. Somebody come hang out with us and talk.
Is doing too much. Let me just say.
If my guns are intimidating everyone, I can drop out and come back in the chat.
So the SBC, right? In this post, I think dozens of churches should be referred to the Credentials Committee for employing women's pastors. These referrals should be published in a public centralized location on a website. If the Credentials Committee refuses to deal with them, we should vote each one out one by one in Orlando. This only takes a simple majority. Welcome to the new normal, SBC. So this is about women in ministry. So the SBC is having a historic abuse crisis right now. And this week, a woman, an advocate and victim named Jen. I have to remember. Jennifer Lyell died. She had a stroke and died. And it is largely understood to be because of the strain on her body and mind. The strain of being vilified and demonized for her stance and for trying to hold the SBC to account and advocate with her own story. So she had just filed, I believe 2 weeks ago, a lawsuit against, I can't remember his first name, but Stills, I believe is his last name. And you've got, they are having case after case after case after case. These men, these leaders are suing, for defamation. There's all this intimidation happening. The same thing that's happening frankly, to victims of IHOP. You've got Justin being sued by Larry Lucky, and who magically is connected to a very high-level attorney who's worked for Trump. And it makes sense because these organizations have lent a lot of support to Trump. They are the ones who have called him God's chosen person. And I don't care about your politics. That's just what's happened. And so I loved this response by Emily Snook. And she says, I hope, and she's a SBC advocate, but she's also a school teacher. And I follow her, and she's got great commentary on all of it. And she says, honestly, I hope they do it. And all of the women who serve in untitled pastoral roles leave, because that is at least one usually unpaid woman in literally every SBC church I've ever known. And the whole congregation would cease to function on a local level. And yeah, that's exactly right. And kind of, I saw this, and I was seeing some of the conversations going on around that.
And this is the third try to get this to pass, by the way.
Yeah, so they're not dealing with this massive, rampant sexual abuse scandal. Yeah. They've been asked to at the very least, have a database of, am I right on this? Of pastors credibly accused, so they don't get to keep bopping between churches. And instead of doing that, they have decided to make, they're pitching, let's do a database of churches that have women in pastoral positions.
Yeah. You know, I do know that they have allocated $3 million towards future legal fees.
That's cute.
Yeah, they're trying to save a little money because the list of predators in the pulpit is going to be a lot longer than churches that are employing women as pastors in the SBC. So they're just trying to start small, I think.
It's just, I think, I really do think that this is part of it. And I think that, I'm sorry, I'm finding the right one. So I was thinking about it this week, and I think that there is an entitlement. I don't care if you're complementarian, whatever. There is an entitlement, I'm clearly not, to women's labor, women's wisdom, women's bodies, in the sense of presence, in the sense of labor, in the sense of, and in every sense, from raising children to cleaning, to cooking, to providing, to being the one who is sitting with someone and crying. Women do an incredible amount of invisible labor in general in society, in families, but a profound amount within the church without any position whatsoever. And they do it quietly. They do it without anyone asking them to. If you go into the chat in one of our support groups on any given day, if you're not part of IHOP, you might not know about this one, but we have a support group that's been going on for about 6 years called Recovering from IHOP. And if you go on the chat in any given day, and there's someone, sometimes there will be someone who is a victim. Sometimes there's someone who has read a news article and they're spinning out. You will always find a woman in the chat walking that person through their pain. And they are doing an incredible amount of emotional labor to handhold someone through incredibly painful details, incredibly painful realization, whatever it is. And they do it without being asked. They do it, like, you look at it, I mean, the Bible bears witness to it. Well, you have women are the ones who buried Jesus' body. Women are the ones who announced the resurrection, and that was honored, and it's not honored in the church. And I think that entitlement to women's bodies, to women's silence, then it becomes entitlement to women's silence and women's service and women, like, subjugation. And that's what keeps so much of the machine running, and it is breaking because women are in their brokenness saying, this is killing us. And I mean, what what immediately happens? Jezebel, gossip, whatever. You're stirring up strife.
Yeah.
The women's pain is strife, but men's pain is gospel. And I'm not trying to sit here and start some gender wars, but I am saying that is how the church is run for decades, for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Be quiet about your pain because it's making it too hard. And that is not at all to discount male victims, because I think the real dynamic is powerful versus vulnerable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And men and women are just a very physical embodiment of power versus vulnerability, of dominance versus nurture, by nature.
Yeah.
You know. So now you have my theology. It's a theology of the powerful laying down their power. Because that's what
Susan doesn't have issues if you're complementarian, but I do, so you can DM me and we can talk about it.
I was lying that I don't have issues. I mean, you can be complementarian. I just
being a girl dad has influenced that a whole lot, I think, for me.
I'll tell you what, do it real quick. What's the fruit? What's the fruit generally of complementarianism?
Yeah, exactly.
It's bullshit. It's what it is.
There's a reason John MacArthur got in trouble for covering up abuse. Like that's
yeah,
it's all related to that. Like if it's their theology, like that's why those things happen in those circles.
I don't know. I mean, Bickle, Greaves, Sliker were all huge egalitarians, or at least professing egalitarians.
In word only. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
What do you mean? They let Misty tote the water? She was on the ELT.
Did she get to use the creamer? That's what I want to know.
I love Mike. Practically, he would have women speak and practically be holding the mic.
Right.
Like he'd be like, "Tell me, Misty, about this very specific thing," and then he'd be like, "What Misty means is."
Well, he's being like awkwardly affectionate with them too.
He's probably
like,
worried about her.
It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
He's probably worried about her mental state because they were both doing lines in a double locked office right before they walked up on stage.
Oh God.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly. All right. So
I forgot we're live this week.
We are. The whole internet's watching today.
Yeah. I don't know, Brother Todd. No, I'm just kidding.
My views are my own.
I will say. I will say. I'm sorry. I just love this comment. Singing. Wait, I pulled. Oh,
that was me. Sorry.
I was going to say singing seminary training 50 hours a week. I just found that. But yes, this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally
marginalized groups are not in any way safe. Yeah. So does anyone want to tackle Sean Foyt?
I would love to tackle Sean Foyt, like physically.
Yeah, I mean
I would love to do a different version of unconsensual touching.
Consensual touching.
Or however Tate worded it in his lawyer approach.
Sensual? You want to touch on sensually?
Sensual.
Let me pull this one out. Let's see. Share this tab. Boom. Like this was in reaction. Alyssa's thread I thought was like very good. I didn't even watch I didn't watch the video, to be honest, but she did a full breakdown thread. Let me put I want to put the link to it in here so you guys can check it out later if you'd like. Should we watch? How long is the video? Do y'all know how long the video is?
I don't know.
Oh, it's 27 minutes. Holy crap!
You know he's long-winded. Come on.
I've not seen
that
it.
It's mainly towards the end, though. He talks about this. Oh yeah, it starts around 8:30. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even close to the end of it.
So she goes through some of the phrasings that he says. This is like the big part. So it's allegations framed as a demonic smear campaign. This is not just about me. This is about the spirit of chaos and perversion. This is demonic. None of these allegations are true. They're regurgitating the Rolling Stone. These people are bad faith actors. They just want to tear down. It's the usual suspects. It's Christianity Today. It's Julie Roy's. It's all these hack job journalists.
I just want to say Julie Royce is a liberal is the middle panel on the on the bingo card.
Oh.
He hit it right away. Julie Royce.
Me that they go
bring up your bingo card. Can you bring up the bingo card?
I'm getting it right now.
There's so many legitimate ways to discredit Julie Royce. I don't know why you go after the liberal aspect.
Right. That's not where I would start. Discredits whistleblowers as embittered former volunteers. He calls these are not staff people, which I think they very clearly laid out.
They very much are.
They are volunteers. We had to dismiss because of moral issues.
Oh, moral issues. Okay.
Some I only met once. They know nothing about our organization. They know nothing about our day-to-day. They know nothing about our financial situation.
They just showed up.
Well, the financial data is public, so.
These attacks, doxing efforts, false allegations, these attacks on my family. I mean, think about it. My family, guys, little human shields. Where my kids go to school. What in the world is happening where my kids go to school? Crazy stuff. Like, what was that about? Like, what does that have to do with the allegations? We've endured this stuff before. Defamatory allegations, lawsuits, slander. It's all spiritual. There it is. I had no clue that I would literally be writing my book on spiritual warfare in real time as I'm living it.
Did he say anything about gossip? I'm filling out my bingo card.
I don't know if he has. Oh, here we go. Those that are regurgitating falsehoods and defamatory stuff better be ready. We have the lawyers. There are legal consequences, and our team is really good.
Really good.
They're the
Anything
best.
with sewing division happening?
I don't know if we're there yet.
Man, he's got most of the card fill out, but he does not have bingo.
He's rescued 1,300 children from sex trafficking. Is that on your bingo card?
I have look at the fruit.
This ministry is actually doing stuff. If there's one ministry you want to get behind, it's this one.
A 3-story building in India.
That's the bulk of it.
What's she's got one that's not expanded.
What's that?
So this is interesting. That this one. Finances, trust me, bro. Yeah. So unfortunately, to get I'll show you his bingo card. Let me just send this.
So something I hate about this, how stupid people are. Literally, he could disprove all of this in 4 seconds by producing documents and addressing the claims directly. Instead, he spends a 27-minute video just gaslighting everybody. And yeah, trust me, bro, like Alyssa said, it's like he could literally prove this wrong and show why these people are lying in 4 seconds.
Well, could he though?
Well, I don't think he could, because I think they're not lying. But what I'm saying is the disconnect with people watching this crap and aren't just like, wait a minute, why don't you just show us? If it's not that big of a deal, if they're lying, why not just produce it?
So I made a tactical mistake with this bingo card.
Oh, with how you laid it out.
Yeah.
You're one short like everywhere.
Yeah, it's wild. He's almost got bingo in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, didn't we have sewing division?
I mean,
I don't know. Did he say sewing division?
I think so in that very first paragraph.
Please, dear God.
I'm checking Charisma magazine right now to see if they've said
we need to check Doka. I need this card filled. Like, this is bugging me. I'm like, how is this happening?
What I
mean, Doka really is only going to speak up if he gets outed for like banging a kid, though. That's kind of their lane.
They're like, do we know?
Does he have any underage sexual assault allegations? Let's tweet about it immediately.
I just want to.
They are weird about that.
Yeah, I just want to say that Charisma magazine just gave me a pop-up ad. I can't tell you the last.
Here we go. We got a Doka post. We're good. We got a Doka post.
Do you?
Yeah. Now, did you see anything? Did Charisma post anything?
I'm trying to search Sean Foyt on the Charisma site, and it's.
Oh my gosh, Doka still does not give us a bingo? I'm losing it.
FEUCHT, yeah.
I can't even tell you. He's got almost has bingo 6 ways. 1, 2.
Oh, here we go.
3, 4.
My gosh, I'm getting so many pop-up ads from Charisma. What the world? Like literally, like other windows popping up on my computer. I've not had that happen since 2005.
7, 8, 9. He almost has bingo 9 ways on the updated card. Sorry, this is only amusing to me. There's no reason anyone else needs to be watching this. Yeah, I mean
nothing on Charisma. Nothing.
Okay. All right.
Does it have to be about this specific event? Is that what we're looking for?
Well, it can be. There could also be. We could do a Mercy Culture podcast. Or a fake prophecy, which I would check Jeremiah Johnson for that.
There's that photo.
Dream.
Does that photo get us anything?
When did they post it?
This was March.
Yeah.
So has the book peddling been as aggressive in the past and I've just missed it? Because I feel like Malachi peddling his book, Sean is now starting to peddle his book. On a different vein, Joel Richardson, like every post now, is peddling his new book. It's like, what's up with all these super aggressive book peddlers?
I mean,
Mike Brown releasing his autobiography in the middle of his crap. I think that's like the insurance plan. Money. I think we all need to write a book and keep it on the shelf, ready to publish for the day that we get outed as terrible people.
What's your book title, real quick?
What's your book title?
Everyone needs to have one ready. It's important. Very important.
Pure feminine.
Pure.
I don't know what mine would be.
Not that kind of Christian.
I don't know. If I was to be outed for doing something illegal, it would be probably going vigilante and making people do terrible things to themselves at gunpoint because the justice system failed.
The arm of the Lord.
Yeah. I think mine would be like troll for justice.
Troll for justice.
Or I'd like just work in the word action. It'd be like just action, but it's actually about like action figures. It's a book about action figures.
I'm pretty sure that was the name of Mike Brown's autobiography for his time in the school.
Was it?
What was it called?
Just Action.
I'm taken.
Bradley, I sent you a really cool article about Sean Hewitt.
You sent me one?
Prophetic Dream.
Uh-oh.
The Future of America.
Did you text it to me? Where'd you send it?
Yeah, I texted it to you.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying Joel's doing it for the money. I'm just saying everybody's being super aggressive peddling their books.
Does he give away?
I like Joel, but
I feel like that's like a power move of intellectualism. Like I have so much authority on this subject, I can write a book.
We just admire this AI image of Sean Foyt.
That's a lot. That's so much.
I don't want to make this joke, but I'm going to talk about it because I thought it was ironic, but this is borderline inappropriate, so I'm sorry ahead of time. My favorite joke I saw on the internet this week was some people having conversations about Sean Foyt looking like a trans person.
Oh, that was very funny, though.
Jeez.
It was terrible.
I hope he saw that, and I hope it ate him up.
I hope so, too. My
favorite. Whom he reminds me of is the Sister Wives show. With the...
I've not seen it.
Oh, my gosh. He has the same hair, the same kind of attitude. Let me send it to you.
I will tell you.
His band.
My favorite comment was that Sean Foyt can be restored if he shaves his head like Samson.
Yes.
That made me laugh. I was like, oh, I love it. I love it. I'm really surprised that Jeremiah Johnson hasn't been brought in to give a random prophecy.
Wasn't he like getting outed by his brother or something? Has been laying low.
Yeah, that's been no. He's done all kinds of things since getting outed by his brother. I like this. Offended people.
Who got outed by their brother?
One of the Johnsons outed the other Johnson.
Oh yeah. Aren't they in like a legal battle now? Isn't there like some kind of lawsuit or something?
I'm sure that's always the play.
Yep.
Have you not read Paul? If you have a disagreement,
go straight to the courthouse.
Everybody.
That's what I do. Wow, Jeremiah has not released any prophecies recently.
No, that's huge.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he did. 11 hours ago, Donald Trump is a wartime president.
Well, I mean,
you want to talk about Israel, guys?
You had the Israeli attack on Iran, so he'll probably prophesy about that happening 2 days from now.
No, Chris Reed
prophesied 11 hours ago after the attack happened. So
Chris Reed will screenshot his notes
forthcoming.
Did y'all see Chris Reed screenshot his notes app?
He's like,
that was like time stamped.
He's like, the Lord told me.
I love that people take a timestamp off a note and like take a screenshot and act like that's proof, as if you couldn't quickly in Photoshop overlay two different screenshots with two different dates and replace the date. Like,
he's ridiculous.
We just let these people get away with it for too long, and they got sloppy, and now, some people have kind of woken up to it, but they've got people sitting in his church right now that I guarantee are like, "Did you see the timestamp?"
You can't fake that.
Isn't God so good? The timestamp on his notes app.
Oh, I gotta pull up this photo that Janelle just sent me. Where'd it go? Oh crap. So which one do you think looks like Sean? Because I see a couple good contenders.
Wait, is that top left?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sean?
What?
I'm bottom center and top left.
They're both like you don't know about this show.
I don't know anything about this show. Are they Mormons? Is that what this is?
Yes, they're Mormons. All but the top one have left him now, though, because he deserves it.
Clearly, I mean, he does not look like a winner. No. Anyone?
He looks like one of those guys that would like do like yoga retreats or like self-improvement.
There's just
conferences at like hotel conference centers.
No, he is the one that tells you how to self-improve.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I see him wearing a headset mic. Welcome to our cult.
Oh man! At TCU when Zach Hensley had us do the "We Are Not a Cult" thing.
I do not remember this.
Oh man, I think it was 2011.
I think I only helped in 9 and 10. I think
he had all the counselors before the kids got there, like shaking our hands and chanting "We are not a cult." And I just think back on that from time to time and think, man, what an odd thing.
I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. I thought it was very interesting whenever I did my interview with Jim Holler that he had lots of questions about our Zach Hensley small group, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh, the Z Harmony?
Z Harmony, yeah. He was like, tell me more about that.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like,
guys, I have great news. Sean Foyt has achieved bingo.
Nice.
Prove it.
Okay, hold on. So the final piece Mercy Culture podcast published the day after the website came out. It was a podcast called, on Mercy Culture, Honor-Based Warfare. Join Pastor Landon as he introduces the concept of honor-based warfare in the season of the accuser of the brethren. I'm going to count it. That is timed.
That was one of my the lower featured parts of that Mike Brown Mercy Culture podcast was whenever she talked about Landon's prophecy of that we are in the season of the accuser of the brethren.
Why are they all taking credit for that prophecy?
Well, it was just in January. In January, the Lord spoke to him and told him that we were in the season of the accuser of the brethren.
I want to know, when did Malachi, and then they could fight.
They're different. They're different. The accuser of the brethren and the spirit of accusation are two totally different things.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, and so seriously, as soon as I get in my new house and get it set up, I'm starting the Spirit of Accusation podcast, and it's going to be a legit Christian tabloid.
Can I join you?
Please,
I'm going to say, sure, you can be my co-host. We're just going to sling crap. We're going to be what they accuse Julie Royce of being.
And then we can truly be unkind.
It's just like, we're going to be. Sean Foyt's hair is telling me right now. I'm going to give prophetic words.
Full of secrets.
Have y'all but listened to the Mega podcast about, it's like the Mega Church spoof podcast. Have y'all seen that?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It has like some like Saturday Night alum, I think, like involved with it. Like one of them, it's all like these outlandish like satire kind of things. And one of them that I listened to was all about this pilot who had like a plane missions organization that they would fly missionaries places and stuff. And they start telling the story, and they're like dead serious through all of it. And they talk about like this wild pack of dogs coming up over the hill, and they were like, as they were barking, I could hear them. They were demonic. They were going, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, as they're like running to the plane. And then he talks about somebody getting caught in the midst of the propeller as they're trying to escape. And it's great comedy for anybody that has been in those environments. Very over the top. There's one about abortion protests. It's great quality stuff.
We're gonna have to do some research.
Oh, go ahead.
Research on what?
Like how Alex Jones gets away with just spouting the craziest bullshit all the time, and
he
how
doesn't. He gets
we
sued.
Can do that. Yeah, that's true.
I think he's got really good lawyers because he is
he's an asset.
Yeah.
To certain parties.
Facts. Let's see here. No, it's the Mega Church. It's called Mega. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll share a link on like Spotify. And there's so many seasons of it.
Is this like the flu season? That's so great. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think one of the biggest issues with. All right, so I'm gonna say something controversial. One of the biggest scams in the charismatic church is the way that everyone has been duped into believing that prophets are people who declare the times and the seasons and whatever the hell, when biblically prophets were people who spoke truth to power and consistently challenged empire, consistently challenged kings and priests on behalf of the oppressed. That was, I cannot think of a single prophet who was not challenging empire, who was not challenging religious institutions, who was not speaking in some form on behalf of the oppressed. So when we talk about prophecy, and prophecy being the testimony of Jesus Christ, what did Jesus do? This is the thing that kills me, is people talk about the lion laying down with the lamb, and I really genuinely believe they don't understand what it means, because the lion is the powerful and the lamb is the vulnerable, right? And the lion laying down with the lamb is a stance of protection. And what I have yet to see in the church is the powerful choosing to take a position of protection over the vulnerable. What I see over and over again is, so you had Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, becoming a sacrificial lamb in place of, right? Like that was the entire point of that was this picture of like, you've got Isaac and you've got, I don't want to hear about how I'm a Christian, Brantley. You've got Isaac, you've got the sacrificial lamb in his place, and God provides that. But the entire point, the demonstration that Jesus was supposed to be, however you believe in him, whatever you think he was God the powerful, laying like the ultimate privilege holder, and the ultimate power holder, laying down power and privilege entirely to completely identify with the least, and the most vulnerable and the most broken. And that is why the rich young ruler could not enter the kingdom of heaven, because the kingdom of heaven is declared to be those who have the least. That is who God chose to identify with. And when I say God chose to identify with it, I mean, quite literally, Jesus said, when you serve them, you are serving me. You can't get more identified than that. It's me. That's how you actually worship and serve me as king, is serve the broken. Yeah. That's where the kingdom is children. It is prostitutes. It is people who are systemically oppressed and have no options, to the point where they're having to sell their bodies. That and whatever we can get into, that's a whole other subject. But I think it is very hard to argue that prostitution does not involve some form of exploitation. And so I don't want to shame it, but I do want to say that it is inherently often exploitive. So I struggle really with the idea of prophets in the charismatic faith, because the idea that they are telling us the times and the seasons, but what Jesus actually says is the times and seasons are apparent. He literally rebukes the Pharisees, and he's like, are you idiots? Like, how can you not discern the times? I'm like, what do you mean? And it's like, so you really think you need a prophet to tell you what the times and the seasons are, when Jesus is calling everyone idiots for not being able to tell? I'll tell you what the times and seasons are right now. Times and the seasons are the oppressed are rising up. The oppressed are the immigrants. The oppressed are women. The oppressed are children. There are people without power, and they are saying we are being brutalized, and all of our systems are breaking because they have depended on the silence of the brutalized, whether it is migrant workers, whether it is women in churches, whether it is women in homes, whether it is children in schools and foster care. Now they're growing up and they are speaking. Whether it's brown people, any of them, anywhere, whether it is, this is going to piss people off, but Palestinians in Gaza, like, the brutalizer speaking. And that's what's breaking your systems. And systems, like institutional power, depends on exploitation. So there you go. If you want to see a prophet, go find someone speaking up against exploitation, and that is a prophet, and listen to them.
It's been one of the hardest things for me to detangle, is the idea of what a prophet is, because we saw it so poorly portrayed.
Yeah, but our prophets were coming from the school of Hophni and Phineas, not like Samuel and Elijah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the prophets were used as spinsters and like coercers, in a sense, more so than truth tellers. And like the reason people killed the prophets is because they didn't like what they said.
Yeah.
Like
and they had the power to do so. So that tells you everything.
Janelle's like, I was trying to say something.
There are prophetesses in the New Testament.
Oh, do I need to repeat myself?
Yeah, there was some kind of weird audio cancellation thing happening.
Oh, okay. Jeez, are you canceling me? I know. I was just saying they were the pariahs of society. Like, prophets were not loved members of society. And now, we love to put prophecy on a platform, and they're treated like celebrities. And, everybody wants the gift. It's like one of the most desired gifts, I want to say. But
I think keep going. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's really interesting that the New Testament talks about prophecy, and it talks about how it's like for encouragement and edification. And it's what's interesting to me, and correction, but what's interesting to me, does it say correction? I don't remember. Man, I gotta look it up. It's been a minute.
Edification, exhortation.
Okay.
Comfort.
Okay, so edification, exhortation, comfort.
I was saying it was like 3 E's for some reason.
So, Justin, you mentioned that there were female prophets. The only named male prophet, besides, like, I guess you could, John the Baptist, Jesus, Agabus. So then there's Philip's 4 daughters, which I didn't realize existed. My bad. And Anna. Because she prophesizes, which is a word, when Jesus is presented. But what I kind of love about you bringing up the fact that there were a number of female prophets in the New Testament is that the descriptors of prophet are like comfort, edification, and encouragement. Those are often things that are a very nurturing, which like those are functions of nurturing, which is a very female coded role in our society. I don't think it should be, but it is. You don't see Lance Wallnau taking a nurturing, encouraging stance with his prophecy. It's all very like governmental and,
a lot of it's fear mongering, just like blatant.
There's a lot of it is fear mongering, yeah. Posturing. A lot of it is king making, to be really honest. That's what I see most from prophets is they are, quote unquote prophets, is they're setting people in their place and identifying them as someone who should be invested in. And that's not what I was taught, like growing up in the vineyard, what the function of prophecy was, and that's not how I watched it function. But I had a really different experience. I think the person who was seen as most prophetic in my church was a Black woman who held I think 2 or 3 PhDs, incredibly wise, educated woman. And man, if she prayed for you, you were like, she was speaking some truth. And I can say that even now as someone who doesn't know what I think about all that, but I think Lance is a moron. Yeah, I think it's been the biggest detriment to the church that believes in prophecy. To like, how do you take away the benefit of prophecy? You trick people into thinking it's something it's not. And then you brand actual prophets, the people on the outskirts who are calling out harm and warning and recognizing and speaking on behalf of the vulnerable and calling power to account. You brand them as the offended, the bitter, the demonic. And then you've taken away the one thing that can bring people back into course. Because personally, I think prophets are the people who warn and call out harm and everything I've just described. I think apostles are the people.
There definitely seems to be a difference between OT prophets and New Testament prophecy too, in the way that it's talked about and really function.
I know this is open space, but
do it.
When's the last time you read Hebrews 13?
So long ago.
All right, I'm going to encourage you. Hebrews 13 really speaks to this, exactly what you're saying, actually.
We're
I don't
done with
believe in the book of
scripture.
Hebrews anymore.
You must have missed the one where we
I missed a lot of them.
Dude, you missed the one where we read Ezekiel 34.
That was we blame Heather Griffin for that one, wasn't it?
Dude, that was an offensive time. Yeah. All right.
Let me pull up a Bible.
I got it. What verse you want me to start on?
1, yeah.
Now I'm eating a peanut that I had in my pocket that I didn't know I had, which was an interesting decision on my part.
What?
I don't know. In the show.
Hebrews 5. Oh, yes.
You said 13?
Yeah, Hebrews chapter 13, starting in verse 1.
Oh, see, I totally misheard you. Wow.
Dude, it's reading about
trust the pastor. Okay, Susan, quit trying to analyze what he's going to say.
I am, but I'm. What version am I reading? Because this version doesn't.
Oh, I don't know. I'm reading ESV. That may actually make a difference.
Which version?
English Standard.
Okay, yeah. Let me jump over because I'm looking at it and I'm like,
yeah, I'm recovering Methodist now, so NRSV is what I'm pulling up on my Bible.
I do live in NRSV. Okay. Keep on loving one another as brothers. Oh no, I'm still in the wrong version. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up.
You're just gonna pull it up on screen. I thought.
I'm from Vineyard, and so I constantly do NIV. You want me to put it in? Okay, hold on. English. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Present.
Welcome to Open Spaces Bible Study, episode 1.
Everyone is so triggered.
Everybody ready?
Please.
Today our guide will be Brother Todd.
I like that he's making me read it. He's like, read it aloud, Susan. Could you please pull up? Please pull up Hebrews 13 and read it.
Hit your little command plus button thing again so we can see it.
Oh, I was in the wrong screen. My bad.
Oh, what's that doing? Oh, Lord, what did you do?
I don't know.
Okay, now command mine. Oh, there we go. All
right. Let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. Thereby, some have entertained angels unaware. Remember those in prison, as though in prison with them. Those who are mistreated, since you also are in the body. Let the marriage be held in honor among all.
Okay.
Someone called.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like this is an indictment against this whole like Lance Wallnaw, Sean fucked, or however you say his name, like
Sean fucked.
Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. Okay, Sean.
Right, but I was looking at this because something that you said talking about meeting Jesus. If you keep going through the whole passage, which I mean, obviously we don't need to do, but verse 13, therefore let us go to him outside the camp and bear the reproach that he endured.
Oh, damn.
And
Okay.
And it's, going through all this, stay free from love of money, basically treat other people well, go to the people who can't pay you back.
This bit right here. Yeah. For we have no lasting city, but we seek the city that is to come.
Right.
Okay. There was a while back when I was writing about, remember that verse? Stay in the city until you have been clothed with power from on high. And they would tell us, stay in the prayer room.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I was thinking about the way that was used. And they wanted us to want the power of like Finney. And it was like this violent power.
Yeah.
And where you are kicking and punching, it's the mantle of Bentley and Finney and all these men who ended up being abusers. And then would literally abuse people in the name of Jesus physically to heal them. I mean, you got John, like even John G. Lake was a total dick. And
break anointing.
Yeah.
What'd you say? They always said about Todd Bentley. He had a breaker anointing. Whatever.
Yeah, and he's literally just like breaking people's legs,
breaking laws.
And it just, I remember thinking, I don't want to be in that city. I would rather make my bed in hell, because that's where the broken people are. And I will, I just pulled it up yesterday.
According to Hebrews 13, you're meeting Jesus in that place, leaving the
Apparently.
city outside the gate.
Yeah, because Jesus is the broken, man.
Mhm.
Like that's you want to go see Jesus.
But remember all like the missionary stories and stuff, and I remember just like the little bit of mission trips and stuff that we did, even though they were very Western and whatever. But people would always talk about how God is near to the poor, and that like whenever you're around poor people, you experience God more. Whenever you're near to broken people, you experience God more. And I think that I can say that that's true. Like I feel like whenever I'm around people who have less and have more need, it does make you feel more grounded, and it makes you feel more connected, makes you feel more a part of the greater whole. And I don't know.
I think that all that time that we spent seeking the presence of God was a fucking massive distraction, because what we were actually seeking was our own comfort.
Yeah.
You want to seek the presence of God, go sit with the broken.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, all the hours we spent in the freaking prayer room trying to feel the presence of God. And all we had to do was walk out onto the street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm reading through this passage as well. This is my highlight right now. I'm going to cut it short though, because I don't like the last part. Remember your leaders, those who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life. The part I left out is and imitate their faith. But
Yeah.
I think we're just going to look at the outcome of their life.
In this case,
and,
yeah, we're gonna not. Man, that's just.
And that's why, like, man, I talk about my therapist about it all the time. Is like feeling like constantly gaslit, but it's like I feel like everything that was handed to us like was perverted in some sense, and it's so hard to make heads or tails. Like I was introduced to like a theological idea this week, just casually in a conversation, not something I dug into. I mentioned it to you, Susan, about some professor at Northern Seminary that was doing work around the word faith in scripture, and how he was contesting that faith meant, instead of belief, that it meant more of allegiance than belief, of allegiance to the kingdom of God and like its values. And I cringed at first too whenever I heard that allegiance, but it was just more of the value systems, like allegiance to that you are not a citizen of this world, that you that you subscribe to humility, you subscribe to turning the other cheek, that you believe blessed are the poor, that you believe these things, like it's allegiance to that kingdom, rather than specific Nicene Creed beliefs.
I know this is probably the wrong crowd to throw this out to, but there was this lady named Dr. Sandra Richter. She wrote a book called The Epic of Eden, and she goes into a lot of this stuff. It's from a obviously Christian perspective, but the allegiance and like the suzerain vassal kind of treaties that were made for or between God and the people of Israel, and therefore inheriting those by the church. But she goes into like the Beit Av, which is the like family structure of ancient Israel, and like how like we were literally adopted into a family, but we have such a hard time comprehending what that means in the context of the scriptures, because we have a like American nuclear family view and not a Beit Av view like they would. And so all these guys that are like bastardizing the gospel, and like they literally are thinking of it from like my father is like an American father, and so therefore he would treat me like this, whereas when we're reading it in scripture, and the real gospel is our father is like a Hebrew father who would be the patriarch over a large family, not just our nuclear family, and takes care of all of those who come into his house. And goes into more things. And I don't mean to preach, I'm a preacher that hasn't preached in like a month, so it's like it's spilling out of me. But he goes into like, I go away, my father's house has many rooms. In the American mindset, somehow we've turned that into mansions. and everybody's like, yeah, I'm gonna have my individualized mansion in heaven, where in that context, it's, you know, my father's house has many rooms. In the Hebrew house, it was literally like a hut that had rooms in it. And the thought was, no matter how far gone you go, you can always come back to your Beit Av, and there'll be room in the house for you because everybody stays in the same room. And it's really interesting. But anyway, that's my pitch for anyone that cares to read Sandra Richter's Epic of Eden. It's very good.
It's so hard because I speak, at least for me, like that communal aspect, like having tasted pieces of that, and like knowing that I have people around me who have my back, who shoulder my burdens. Not to get too sentimental and nostalgic, but I think about us living together in Kansas City and how we functioned. And I can't remember how many times you fed us. I can't remember, you know, just all the good times we had goofing off and laughing together and taking care of one another. And I find myself all the time, and we always joke about starting other cults and stuff, but like I find myself, to use triggering language, longing for that. But it's so hard because the idea of family has been so turned against us and weaponized in Western church circles. It makes me think of, I don't know if you guys watched the Hillsong documentaries and stuff like on Hulu and such, but the phrase that they use that I think transcends many different Christian circles was the "we get to do this" kind of thing. That like, what a privilege it is that we get to do these things, that we get to be a part of this family. You know, it's the
in the middle of the night.
It's the image of like any mega church-ish vibe place you walk up to, and they're holding the signs as you walk in to say "Welcome home." You know what I mean? Or like, "We're family here," or like whatever it might be. It's
what's hard is like when I was at church, like the people who treated me like family, you know, they were like in my first church, people really did treat me like family. My mom was a single mom, and they had us over for family dinners weekly, people in this church. Genuinely acted really like a real community, a real family would. You know, raised me alongside their kids, watched me for free. Not all of them watched me for free. Some of them were not great people. Covered up some abuse, but there were some really good ones, and that shaped my sense of belonging. And it's something that I have not been able to find again since the church has become such a corporate place. And I will give old school church credit for that, for that, at least that one, genuinely doing that aspect well. Because there was no hierarchy. Everybody went to these pastors. It was like a barbecue, like every other weekend, you know.
Women were shouldering most of the load, though.
You know, in this church, they worked. That is very true, that women did a lot of the connecting. They did work to address that and they repented from the stage.
Oh,
really? Wow.
Whoa. I have never heard of anything like that.
The lead pastors, all of the male pastors, got up on stage and repented to the women in the congregation, and then specifically repented to the children's pastor who had not been called the children's pastor, and basically said, "We have not honored you." And she was made an executive pastor, and she's an executive pastor to this day.
Wow.
But they profusely repented, and they were like, it was arrogant and it was wrong. And
that's unheard of.
Yeah. So they when I say that these are people of good character, they're imperfect people, but they were people of profoundly good character, and they shaped who I became. I will still say my mom blew a lot of them out of the water. She ran the special needs Sunday school, which she started because special needs kids were kicked out because they were too much to care for. So she was an RN, and she created, which a lot of the single mothers helped with, the special needs biweekly Sunday school, so that a mother in the congregation, it's a pretty big congregation, like 800 people, could go to church, not watch her kids. And so she consulted someone who did occupational therapy and held therapeutic Sunday school for these kids with like sensory stuff. And that was what I was raised, being told that was the fasted lifestyle, which is why IHOP didn't jive well with me, is that I was raised told that Harp and Bowl was praying. She literally, I think she just sort of self-applied, but that Harp and Bowl was prayer and worship and intercession so that you could be filled up to pour yourself out and pour the love of God out to other people. And as part of that, she ran a youth program where we would fast, but rice, because she was a nurse. And she was like, it's unhealthy to fast. And which is why I didn't really fast at IHOP. And we would fast and do a worship session, and then we would go and we would do acts of service to the single moms in the community. Mm-hmm. We would with children, and we would do house projects for them. And like if I saw the church doing that, I would join a church that did that. Like I would be a part of something like that. But I don't. I see a lot of like, the Lord has just been revealing this new thing to my heart that no one gives a shit about but me, but it's special knowledge, and I'm writing a book and just moving. And I'm like, is he though? Where? Because I don't know. I just struggle with it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of why I hate the Methodist Church. I'm still an elder in the Methodist Church, but the reason I hate it, so from like 2019 to like 2023, I served a homeless church in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. And so like 80% of our congregation was homeless during COVID. Instead of like worshiping in the indoors, we rented this huge laundry/shower trailer and parked it in our back parking lot. We were doing like, all the shelters had shut down, so we were letting them take showers, and we're doing their laundry for them, and restaurants were like bringing food together and all of that. Like it was a really beautiful time. It was a really cool thing to like be a part of. NPR did a like piece on us. But after all of that, all of this good we were doing, the United Methodist Church realized they could make more money by selling that place and turning it into a parking lot than they could, obviously having us do a homeless ministry there. So they closed the church and decided to sell the building.
Yes.
I remember talking to you during that. Like, that was one of the times we reconnected since IHOP was, I think it was right. This is going to be funny because I was in Idaho whenever. Because I talked to you and Jim that week. I'd called you both because I think I was asking Methodist Church questions and you were telling me about that. And I remember thinking, like, man, this is like, I was like, Justin's actually doing it. Like, I was expecting to, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. And whenever I heard that was what you were doing, I was like, man, like, maybe there is hope for us. Like, maybe we're not going to figure this shit out. But
nope.
I want to get your thoughts. Like, there's one verse that, and you hit on it a little bit, but you passed over it. I want to hear what you think about it because I feel like it resonates with me with where I'm at. The verse 13, let us then go to him outside the camp and bear the abuse he endured.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that.
Oh, I've got a lot of thoughts about that. So Hebrews 13 is one of my, Hebrews 10 and Hebrews 13 are two of my, like, I don't know, anchor points. I always kind of return to them, but it's kind of like something else I tweeted earlier this week. Another one is that 1 Corinthians, where he said, if Christ isn't raised from the dead, we're to be pitied above all other men. And I think about those things like in conjunction with one another and think, is my life to be pitied if Christ hasn't raised from the dead? Or, have I not actually sacrificed anything? Have I actually just like gained in my personal wealth or personal doings because I've, gained Christ? And I think the same thing in that Hebrews verse where it's like, meet him outside the camp. If we're staying inside the camp, you know, if we're just building our little empires, if we're just doing our little thing and hanging out with our people, are we meeting Jesus outside the camp? Are we living like we're living for a city that's coming, or are we building our city here? And so, yeah, I don't know. I tend to trend towards conspiracies. I tend to be very conspiracy minded, but I seriously wonder if it's not all just like a giant conspiracy where these guys that are in the head of these churches don't even believe that there is a God, like don't actually believe the gospel. They just identified that it's a great grift and it's a great thing that they can make money and be comfortable on. Because I read these passages and there's no overlap between these guys like Sean Foyt or however you say his name, um, Dr. Michael Brown. Like there's no, you can't read them into the scriptures, even though they quote the scriptures a little bit, even though they claim we're doing all of this for God. They're not there. I don't see them there. And I say that as a super conservative guy. I don't know if you guys could tell by the guns hanging up behind me, but like I'm conservative. I'm probably the most conservative, like theological guy that I know. And so like I'm not coming at this from a super liberal place of you know, trying to fit people in or whatever. I don't see them in the
fine with
scripture.
me speaking because we're outside of the church right now. I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, I'm an egalitarian because I feel like the whole
I'm just
witness
effing
of
with you.
scripture leans towards egalitarianism. But I don't know, man. I'm like, if it's in the scripture, that's how I want to be. And I see these guys and it's not there.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, if the gate is narrow, you know, that's another. Somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago on Twitter why I care or why I keep giving Mark Driscoll a hard time. He did a sermon while we were at IHOP, and I was like cutting my teeth and trying to learn from people about the narrow door and the narrow gate, and it was one of the best sermons I'd ever heard at that point. And I see this guy, wait, he's not living like the door is narrow. He's not living like the gate is narrow. Like we're not. These ministries are not living like we're meeting Jesus outside the camp.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I try to live my life in that way, but
it reminds me of a verse, you know, where he's talking, I forget who said it, probably Paul, I don't know. You know, who's of John, who's of Paul, and you know, whose follower are you? And you know, and that none of that matters. Like that's not the real question, right? Like we are the body and we have one that we serve. And that's it. Like nothing else matters. And you know, we're to be
sorry.
But I don't know, like I have a church that we've dabbled in. Our life is a little crazy right now. So
Am I the non-Christian?
You know, actually we have quite a few atheists that go. And it's awesome.
I love that.
It's what we were talking about this week, Susan. Nobody can have friends unless they go to church.
that is literally what Brantley and I were talking about. I was like, the problem is it kind of is like the only place that you can have community with people who are serious and want to care and want to grow.
Unless you join some mutual aids, Susan.
I'm working on it, but I live in a really Republican town.
But anyways, it's Episcopalian, and I will say, like, it really depends on, you know, the church you go to. There's a wide variety of Episcopalians, but what I really love about this particular church is that it's truly led by the people. It's not led by the priest, and the priest is a woman. And
that's how Methodist churches are supposed to be, in a sense.
It's just such a beautiful thing to witness, because I'm so used to walking into churches and they're literally begging people to be a part of some kind of ministry, right? And whereas it's the opposite here. Like we have so many people that are like wanting, like coming forward with ideas of like, hey, this is how I want this church to get plugged into the community. Like, what else can we do? And how can we help this group of people? How can we, what can we do about this issue that's happening in our community? And so like our priest is literally like overwhelmed with with all of these things that and I'm talking about like a church of maybe 100 people. It's not very big. And but there's such a genuine love and concern for the community. I can't even tell you all the ways that they've been involved with providing a safe space for kiddos after school. There's the free pantry that they do outside of the parking lot, and stuffing backpacks for kiddos for school. They've done a lot of work with immigration, and providing necessities for those who are showing up without a home. And so I just, it's beautiful to see like that it's truly love in action, and no one's concerned about semantics. No one's concerned about, the nitty gritty of theology, right? But like pure love, and, what are we going to do in action? And even during the services, like just little things like, they print bulletins in large print for their elders so that you can also see. And they provide items for, we've got a few autistic kiddos, and so providing things for them, providing sensory items. And like we have kiddos that show up at the altar all the time. They just decide to like climb up onto the altar and during service, and the priest, she'll just like pick them right up and set them right next to her, on top of the altar. Just continue on.
It's like not disruptive. It's just a part of what happens.
And it's such a picture, for me of like, that's how Jesus would respond, just instead of being like, hush, be quiet, go back to your seat. It was like, okay, like come join me. And
kind of serenade us, Susan.
Wow. Are you playing me off the stage?
This is like fade her out. That was Laura Veers. I'll drop it in the chat. Phenomenal song.
That was unintentional, Janelle.
Keep going, please.
Oh, but I just want to say, like, I think, when it's more, I listen to me. I'm all about dismantling the systems that have existed within the church for generations, right? Where, we have our colonial patriarchal systems that have been so cemented into how church functions that, we've lost the holiness that exists in humanity. And so finding a church that truly is led by the people and led through love, and saying, you know what, you don't have to believe in Jesus to be a part of our board. Like, what?
Yeah, there is a church that my friend runs called Brown Line Church. And he's the son of the church that I talked about loving and feeling like they really did family and community well. His son went to seminary and deconstructed and started this church it was Brown Line Vineyard at the time. Now it's just Brown Line Church. But it's what they call a center set church. And so their deal is there isn't you're in or you're out. But our center is going to be God. It is Jesus. It's the pursuit of following Jesus' example and whatever. And he's like, so that's what we're going to be centered around. But you can be wherever you are in relation to that. and be part of our community. And we identify, like, we create our community based on what we're centered around, not what we're against, not what team you're on, not your creed. And so they do have a non-Christian and a Muslim on their board. And what those two individuals said was, we are part of this community and we love your community. We love what you're doing in the community, because they run a like a reading program that's free, that works with the city. There's no religious agenda. Everybody is appropriately educated for what they're doing. They are all social workers and educators, special education people, and it's a nonprofit. I hear a puppy. And and they provide free hot breakfast and work with the city and before and after school care. And it's an amazing program. And that is a primary part of like the church's ministry. And so, but there is no religious anything associated with it. They do not add that in. And so there's no strings. So they were like, we're part of this community. And if you're going to understand the perspective of people outside, you need people like us. If you really want to serve this community, you need people outside your circle. I mean, to Justin's point, you need people outside the city. And which is not how Justin meant it. I'm not going to put those words in his mouth, but that is how they are thinking of it. Genuinely. Is how can we be a good neighbor? And that's where they start. And Jesus as love, Jesus as, I mean, they're very into liberation theology. They see Jesus as
that
marginalized.
That witness causes people to believe in the kingdom.
Brantley, you need to go get your mic from the other room.
You're real quiet.
Am I real quiet? Sorry, I was whispering. What did I say? I said, but that kind of witness is what makes people want to believe in the kingdom. I think whenever they're exposed to those types of things, those types of values, like that's where kindness leads to new ways of thinking. Like that's.
There's a guy that says something about the kingdom being like leaven. You know, if a little bit gets in. Well,
I'm not getting resaved, guys. So you can all you can turn this right the hell off.
It's
playing.
Okay, so do you guys remember that a couple weeks ago I was talking about the Call Institute and how Lou left us with Brent Steno for like
we remember.
6 months or however long it was. Okay, so I've got to go, but I'm gonna show you an example of what it was like to be with Brent Steno as a teacher for your college class. So I believe the Western Church is the harlot Babylon mentioned in the book of Revelation. And those who are coming out of the Western Church are actually doing what Jesus called them to do. And little expressions of people that are doing what the Bible says in places that are actually experienced community are those who are on the narrow path, not necessarily those who are driving to a building every Sunday morning and listening to music. And with that, wish you guys a good night.
Oh, don't leave with that.
He just logs off.
That makes me very sad because it was just good.
He's just out. Bye. With that, I'll play a random song off my playlist that I just started accidentally playing earlier.
Oh my gosh! No, it all reminds me of that.
Brantley, you're so quiet. I don't know.
Am I really quiet? I
get like so quiet.
I start whispering when I get.
Getting sentimental.
Is that better?
No.
No. Oh, I know what it is. It's because
Is your volume knocked down?
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
I unchecked something on my microphone. I can't remember what I was saying. But yeah, I'm feeling all tender and in my feels. Oh, yeah, it's that's why I shared that song. What was it yesterday on social media about the kingdom of Jesus? Like that, it's what to what can we compare the kingdom of Jesus? But like as it's a seed that it's small, it's sown, it's tended and grown, and it's sturdy in you and me. Its branches never break, and its fruit never withers. Like, I think I wanted to ask Justin more questions. That's why I was mad he got off. Because I think he said some things passively that I was shocked that he said. That I wanted to get some clarification on, but
that's why he got off so quickly.
I know. I want to live
Justin
my
was
life.
getting real.
Because he was talking about the resurrection verse, and if that Christ wasn't raised.
He's in chat. He's in chat.
Is he?
Yeah.
But I think about those kind of things, and I think that I want to live my life in a way. This is going to sound heretical, but I'm saying it. I want to live my life in a way that even if Jesus wasn't raised from the dead, that people have hope, that people feel seen, supported, and loved, that people, and it may be very humanist or whatever of me, but that's how I've moved forward, is the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, is addressing the hells that are in front of us. Like those are the real hells to me.
Damn,
the hell
okay.
that used to give me nightmares and used to torture me was purely in my mind. It wasn't real. It wasn't flesh in front of me. It was flames of my imagination that tortured me and tormented me. And it did. And it caused me great anxiety. But I finally reached the point to where I realized that was in my head. Like I can't, even if you choose to believe in an eternal hell or whatever, like none of us can prove that it exists. None of us can show empirical, is that the right word? I don't know. That none of us can show like firm evidence, objective evidence that hell exists. But I can show you many hells that exist all around us, that no one should be living in, that so many people need to be freed from, that need to be liberated from. And I think that's what changes people, like alleviating suffering. And that was like the going outside the city to be abused as he was. Like that's like I don't know, there's something so grounding with that.
So in my own story, this is mildly vulnerable, but don't get worried.
We're there tonight.
Yeah, just it's going to be a little heavy, but I'm okay. So I just want to put that out there. But I had all these experiences when I was at IHOP and just after, where so this was a time period where I was in safe enough relationships where memories of abuse were starting to surface, sexual abuse. And in that, my first memories of them came as like body memories that manifested as like dreams or waking dreams, that my brain interpreted as demonic attacks. So I would have like images, right, of huge figures that I assumed were principalities coming and attacking me and assaulting me and all this stuff. And sorry, it is very heavy. I should have,
because it's the only way that you had to make sense of it in your head, like your worldview, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't until this year. So I put that on a shelf for a long time because and this was before I actually knew the specifics of my own abuse, because this particular abuse happened when I was very young. I had unfortunately, more than one instance, which is really common. But this was stuff that I didn't know the specifics of and found out after the fact. And so it wasn't until years later when I found out the specifics of my abuse that I realized that I put two and two together, because I kind of just put it on a shelf. And I realized how much of what I had thought was spiritual was actually just like spiritual oppression. And I'm kind of relating this to the concept of hell, but so much of the hell that I was going through that I thought was evidence of a literal hell was actually the trauma of the hell on earth that I needed to be loved through into healing. And it wasn't until someone, like the thing that actually stopped those nightmares was the physical presence of someone. Yes, Nicole, the trauma was pre-verbal. Spot on. And that is not uncommon with pre-verbal trauma. But the thing that actually brought healing and brought me out of that hell, because I had these nightmares for years, and they were like, I could feel myself being picked up and shaken. I could feel myself being assaulted. I could feel myself, like, I would feel like it was happening and feel like I was awake. It was profoundly traumatic. But the thing that actually stopped it was not figuring it out. It stopped long before I figured out what it was. It was actual presence. It was just the presence of a person who co-regulated with me when it would happen, which was my husband. And for years, he would just wake up with me and sit with me and let me sleep with my back up against his. And my point is that it changed my understanding of presence and healing and hell, and like the point of all of it. Like, I realized that, like, presence is important. Like, we seek out the presence of God, and we talk about how the presence of God is healing. He was the presence of God to me. He was the presence of love to me, more than any other thing that I had experienced, because he chose to be there. And that is actually what brings healing to trauma. If you actually look at the research, it is a co-regulating presence, loving you in the place where you were too overwhelmed, where your brain, your body, your nervous system was overwhelmed. Because that's what PTSD is. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, but
you got it.
The nervous system being overwhelmed to the point where it essentially just like
Gets
fritzes and shuts down, and it gets stuck. Yeah, you're frozen, and you end up stuck. And the only thing that gets you unstuck isn't it. You could process it till you're blue in the face, but unless you process it with someone to co-regulate. And so there were two people who chose to co-regulate with me. One was my husband and one was a friend. When I realized what the abuse was, she just listened and cried with me. And those two things did more for me than any prayer, than any therapy, than anything else that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking therapy, because I think those things can happen in therapy. I think EMDR is powerful, but also fuck therapy, because my last therapist was bullshit. No, I did have a really good therapist 3 separate times, but that's part of what they did. And yeah, oh, this is great. The biblical Hebrew for presence is the face of God. And see, that's the thing. I just feel like, I do genuinely feel like the church, this is where I'm almost a Christian, but I do believe that God is love. And I do believe that the church is supposed to be the embodiment of love and the presence of God, the God who is love, on the face of the earth. And I think that if the church actually did that, it would transform the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And oh, this is super sweet. But yeah, I think, but that's the thing. I think that we are the face of God to people. Nicole is just like knocking out of the park, 100,000%. I think
Ricky,
this pisses me off, but Michael Miller from Remnant Radio and I had this long conversation one time where he was like, "Why'd you leave the church?" And I told him, and he was like, I was so fucking pissed because he's a pastor, and he's like, so what I'm hearing is the church, I don't know his exact words, but he basically, it was like the church failed to be present and empathetic for you and your pain. It didn't show up for you. And that caused you to lose faith in God. And I was like, no, that's not it. Also, cognitively, there were other things that happened. And it is true that there were other things that happened. Like, I don't believe in God, and I will never believe in God the way I did before. If I believed in God, it would be very different. I believe in God as love.
Well, I think that negates growth, though. If you continue to believe in God in the same way that you've always believed in God,
Yes.
then you're not going anywhere.
Yes. I would say that if I were to believe in God again, it would be a much more expansive idea. Janelle just left. She was just like, fuck this. She was like, they're talking about God again, and I'm out, even though I go to church now. No. But he was not wrong, because I genuinely think what causes people to lose faith in God, as someone who doesn't have any, is the lack of the presence of God in the people of God.
Yeah, not a mystical, ethereal presence of God.
No, but the literal embodied love.
Yeah.
If God is love, and love is not embodied in his people, then why would you believe in him? Because literally we're talking about the body. We're talking about embodiment. Like, that is the point. That was the point of that metaphor. The point was, you are the embodiment of God on the earth. You are his body. You are Jesus' body. Do the Jesus things. Embody Jesus.
And is that why church hurt so bad? Like that betrayal trauma, you know?
Yeah. I think that faith for people, first of all, I think faith is how you choose to live. So I think most people who leave the church are
Janelle's internet went down.
Oh, there it is.
Texted me.
Sure, Janelle. Text her the sure Jan.
I don't know who it is.
Sure Jan. But I think, yeah, if he's not in his people, yeah, he's not real. I think it is really, people are like, Jesus, the church's people, you were hurt by people, not Jesus. I'm sorry. The church is the body of Jesus. And so it is not strange to me that people internalize it as being harmed by God at all. Yeah. I would too. But I haven't seen one yet. It's just, yeah, that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I want to have more conversations with Justin too, because I mean, you've been there, but you've not like worked in local churches a ton though, have you? A little bit, you did.
I did a long time ago, yeah. Yeah.
Like just seeing like how much effort is put into things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Like just to put it frankly.
It doesn't actually serve people. You want to serve people, feed them.
Yeah.
Like, you want to build community, fucking feed people.
But you need 2 upbeat songs, Susan. You need 2 upbeat songs.
2 upbeat songs, and then a medium song, and then a reflective song, and then end on a banger. It's fine.
It's maybe even another upbeat is what we would prefer.
It depends on where you place communion.
Oh, we don't do communion. It costs too much to do that every week.
And I'm like, where's this money going? Because I'm going to be really honest, most pastors, and I firmly believe this, most pastors should have a full-time job. Unless you are a therapist and a pastor, then absolutely serve your community, and because it doesn't take long to write a sermon. You don't have anything to say. 20 minutes, it's a TED Talk. You're done. Nobody needs to hear you talk. You know what they actually need? They actually need to be around people who love them. Because you know what changes people? Being loved. Having people who care about them. Feed people.
I have honestly said this to pastors too. Like we live in the age too of the internet, and like you invest like all these time into sermons and messages and series, and I can open up Spotify and I'm going to find something that's way better, way more informative, and more well-researched in like no time flat. It's like, that's not what we need from you. Like,
I would take a church that was a book group with a random panel discussion where the pastor just facilitated it. You read a book on, there's a book called The Anti-Greed Gospel. I would go to a church that read that book. It's by a Black theologian. And he basically talks about how the basis of racism is greed. And he talks about how the church basically has a theology of greed and it's enabling racism. And he's not wrong. And you give me a book group with a book like that and lunch afterwards and someone to run around with the kids who's a licensed child care provider, and I will show up at that church every week and be in community with those people, because that would be, sorry to borrow a phrase, but life-giving. Yeah, hand out sandwiches at lunchtime. And that was my big beef with every church that I went to. It was like, by the time church gets out, people are exhausted, their kids are losing their shit, and they all run off, and there's no community. And like, why am I here? Because I don't need to hear you talk. I don't. Like,
Yeah.
what I remember telling an elder at my old church this. I said, this man has been married less years than me. He has less children than me. He frankly has less ministry experience than me. He has less formal training than me. And he has less life experience than me. He's never held a real job. What does he have to offer to me that I can't actually offer? What he should actually be doing is identifying people in this community who can offer this back. Because the amount of wisdom untapped in this community that you have is unbelievable. You have social workers, you have therapists, you have business owners, you have people who have gone through the grief of a child dying. And those are like, you have people who have gone through adoption.
Those are experiences that can't be taught.
Yeah, lived experience. And you aren't using that to enrich the community, to comfort the community, to strengthen the hands that are weak. But you've got this jackass up here who's a pastor because what? His grandpa prophesied he was going to be a pastor. And that's what led him to do it. And the funny thing is that pastor, the life that he did live, had he not had to hide it for fear that he would be seen as weak, would have been more profoundly, it would have had a far more profound impact, because he actually lived in chronic pain. But he felt like he couldn't be open about it because he felt like, and the elders advised him about this, because I saw him once at Target. I don't want to out anybody, but I saw this dude at Target, this pastor, and he was walking with a cane and he had a tremor. And I was like, oh man, like, are you okay? How you doing? And he was like, please don't tell anybody about this. And he's like mortified. He's like, the elders, they feel like, if people see me like this, they'll lose faith in me as a pastor because they'll see me as weak. And I was like, have you not? I immediately quoted John Wimber, just because I grew up in Vineyard, and I was like, hey, I don't know that that's true. Like, that makes me trust you more if you've lived life. Like, I would trust a pastor who dealt with chronic pain before I would trust one who is healthy, because I would know that they're a priest who could identify with my weakness. Like, they would know.
Yeah.
And I was like, never trust a leader without a limp. You're literally walking with a limp. I would trust you. Because if you're open about your weakness and about your struggles and about your real vulnerabilities, like, I mean, like, where's the Bible in that? Like, his strength is made, my grace is sufficient to you. My power is made perfect for you in weakness. Yeah. When you lead with real vulnerability, like the kind of vulnerability that allows you to be known, not performative edginess, like we saw from Corey this week, Corey Asbury. Leading with your bullshit is not, leading with your failure in the sense of just being an asshat is not authenticity or vulnerability, but leading with real vulnerability, like your pain and your complete lack of capacity to make the grade is something totally different. And leaders who do that, man, that allows people to be honest and real and loved in their pain because they know they're safe. That would change the world, man.
On that, I think we should wrap up.
I'm gonna play us out with a song.
Are you?
Yeah, because I haven't pulled it up. It's the song I always play. Wait, I could pick it up real quick.
What are you playing?
Here we go. Hold on. Let me.
Oh, we got. I pulled up your Spotify and you don't even know it.
Here we go.
Oh no, hell.
Can you hear it?
No, not really.
Oh, what the
You
fuck?
didn't share your tab audio again.
How do I do that?
I don't know. Last time we realized that you like had your volume
Stop
sliders turned off or
screen.
something.
I'm gonna do it. Oh, we could play this one. No, we're gonna play the other one. Go back.
I can play it.
You're like, I can handle this, Susan.
Well, like with my new little toy. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear this. Let's see.
Yep.
Can you hear that?
Yep. Well, it's in and out.
Mama said the stars are the universe's eyes. I can feel them watching over me most of the time. We grew up believing we could learn how to fly. We came from the earth, but we belong to the sky. I saw your soul without the skin attached. You've got the guts of a coyote pack. We've been kissed, we've been cut, but we do what needs to do it. We're just rainbows, dreaming we're human. Please excuse the light shooting out of my head. I keep them in a cage, but they come out when they see a friend. You must be a friend. You're never really gonna have control of it all, so you best get cool with where your chips gonna fall. We are the sun in mother's milk, in cuss words and poetry, and there's no use to run unless you run like heck. The best things we learn from the wreck. Jesus coming back as a woman this time, headed out hard to the clinic line. So we'll tell the devil we don't need no help. We're all pretty good at picking up ourselves. As kids, we believed that the angels talked. Everything is magic till you think it's not. It's easy to be thankful for the things you've got. Takes guts to give thanks for the things you've lost. We grew up believing believing good wins over bad, so you gave away your heart, but the wolves attacked. But then a bigger heart grew back. But please excuse the words coming out of my mouth. I'm a happy man, but there's some things I need to get out. I need to get out. No use in running unless you run like that. The best things we learn from the wreck. Jesus coming back as a woman this time. Getting our hearts in the clinic line. Someone tell the devil we don't need no help. We're all pretty good at beating up ourselves.
Oh my gosh. Every time that song hits differently. I'm not even going to say anything. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Join the group if you haven't. Love you guys.